What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cool Colas here, and you are now tuning into a new episode of the Pro-Black Blurred Kingdom Podcast. I know it's been a while. I took a little break, had a little vacation, but I'm back, and I got a new episode for you all today. I want to kind of continue off on where I left with the Allspice comic series. So today, we're going to be talking about Allspice Season 1, Episode 3. But before we get into the episode, I'm going to previously tell you what happened on the last one so that we can recap. A mysterious girl was speaking to Khaleesha as she was in the coffee shop and said, "Girl, are you talking to yourself?" Khaleesha then responded and said, "Yeah, I was." The girl then said, "Well, shoot. As long as you ain't answering back, that's all that matters. Anyway, me and my crew over here about to have a rap battle. We trying to get an unbiased party to be the judge on who's better. You mind coming over to our table to help us out?" The presence then said to Khaleesha, "Only you can hear me, Khaleesha. You might as well go over there with them. This could be a link to the next heirloom, potentially." Khaleesha then said, "Yeah, I'll be over there to see what kind of skills y'all got. Y'all better be fired too. You know what I'm saying?" The girl then responded and said, "See, I like you already. I see the fire within you. What's your name?" Khaleesha then said, "My name is Khaleesha. And you?" The girl then said, "My name is Tiana. Around here, they call me Trap Queen." Khaleesha then said, "All right, Trap Queen, let's see what y'all got." Now, we're going to get into the third episode of Allspice Season 1. All of a sudden, Khaleesha was sitting at a table with Tiana and her friends, and they were freestyle rapping, and Tiana started off. And this is how her rap went. "My name Ty Price, the trap queen to rap. When niggas battle me, they pay the ultimate price. My lyrics like my attitude stay cold as ice, leaving niggas shook with fear, staying quiet as church mice. They think I'm quite nice, cause my looks can entice anyone who wanna cut up with me and get a big slice. My life's a mystery, but as you can see, my lyrics extroverted, a little too friendly, but ultimately there are three sides of me. The baddest bitch in rap and the trap who can trap interested fans that wanna give me my flowers and clap when they see me spit that hot fire. I ain't never been a liar, but when shit gets down to the wire, I move in silence, no preaching to the choir. Never tell them all your moves, that's what part 2 of me said. That's why part 3 of me is always 3 steps ahead. I'm a cool chick, I ain't got no time to be a lame, corrupted by fame, or too aloof to know that this life shit is a game." Now, one of Tiana's friends named Yanni Joy, who was a thin, dark-skinned black woman wearing a pink head wrap and a tan color overcoat, spoke out when Tiana was finished with her rap. She then said, "Girl, that was everything." Another one of the girls that was with them was a light-skinned black woman with a medium build. She had long brown hair with a light blue hat on top and was wearing a light blue coat with fur on the back. Her name was Kyra Pettis. Kyra then said, "I don't know how you do that. That's quite a skill." Tiana then said, "As I've always told you, Kyra, if you can write, you can rap. Anyway, real recognize real. I'm trying to see what the new girl be on." Khaleesha then responded and said, "New girl, eh? The name's Khaleesha, thank you very much." Yanni responded and then said, "All right, Khaleesha, let's see what you've got." Soon after, Khaleesha began to do her rap. A allow me to introduce myself to y'all. Pick up your iPhones cause your girl's about to call. I'm the Jamaican queen, got lyrics so mean, the baddest you've ever seen, and all green everything. Even my last name green and my lineage all the same. I don't care for the fame, but I gotta play the game and make sure that I keep this world tame. The lions came to hunt, but this Leo came to stunt, cause this fashion queen on the scene looking hotter than a blunt. I'm here on a mission and ain't got no time, and ain't no one gonna stop me. That slow burn fire and fight better than Rocky. Closed door, heart of gold inside, and ain't no one gonna knock me. My presence is a present. The rap and dazzle like stars. My shining stars ain't that far though. I always wonder where they are. But I know that I'm on par. Swing two on point to be bizarre. But until then, I'll defend and protect when I'm supposed to tend till the race is done and my prize is at the end. Everyone in unison screamed after she rapped. Everyone then said, "Oh!" Yanni responded and said, "Look, you gonna fit in just fine with us, Khaleesha. How long you been in the rap game? Maybe Tiana can show you the ropes around here." Tiana then said, "Me? Oh, nah. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I'm still hoping to get noticed by Renardo Shears." Khaleesha then responded and said, "I'm not in the rap game, though. It's a cool hobby, but it's not really my thing." Yanni then responded and said, "Well, what is your thing?" And Khaleesha responded to her, "I'm into fashion. I make my own clothes like my mama taught me." Kyra then responded and said, "Where are you from, Khaleesha?" Khaleesha took a minute and then she said, "I'm originally from Kingston. Born and raised, you heard me?" Kyra then said, "Oh, wow. Well, you would fit right in here in New York. There are all types of Jamaicans here." Yanni responded and said, "Wait a minute. Did you say you are into fashion?" And Khaleesha responded and said, "Yeah." Yanni responded once more and said, "I'm a model here in New York City. Maybe you could come to the agency and I could show you around." Khaleesha said, "Is it your studio?" And Yanni then said, "No, it's owned by this dude who goes by the name The Flair." And then Khaleesha said, "The Flair? He ain't got a real name or nothing?" Yanni responded and said, "He does, but no one knows it. He likes to be known and addressed as The Flair." Khaleesha responded and said, "Okay, so Yanni, you are a model and you rap, Tiana. What about you, Kyra? What do you do?" Tiana responded for Kyra, saying, "Kyra is a writer. She's still trying to get them feet wet of hers. She better hurry up, though. New York City don't wait on no one, though." Yanni also chimed in before Kyra could respond as well, too, and said, "No kidding. You better get on it quick and stop procrastinating. The way I see it, you are in your own way, girl." Kyra finally decided to speak up for herself to some extent. "I'm not procrastinating. I just am still trying to figure it all out. I want to write, but I really don't know what about." Tiana diverted her attention back to Khaleesha and said, "So, what made you choose to come to Jamaican Queens, Khaleesha?" Khaleesha responded and said, "Dang, y'all all up in your girl's Kool-Aid, and I just met y'all." Khaleesha put her hand on her head as she said this, and the presence began to say something into her ear. He spoke under his breath, where he was only audible to Khaleesha. The presence said, "How are you planning to get out of this one, Khaleesha?" Everyone grew silent as they were thrown off by Khaleesha's snide answer. Khaleesha then smiled after saying what she said and said, "I'm playing, y'all. I'm here to get into the fashion industry." The presence once again whispered and said, I guess there is the existence in some truth, even in half-truths." Yanni, after hearing Khaleesha's response, said, "Duh, You did just say that. Come on, Tiana, you gotta pay more attention. And Tiana then said, yeah, you did say that, didn't you? Afterwards, the four of them had got done talking, getting to know one another, and they left the coffee shop. As the four of them were leaving, a group of girls were standing outside of the shop. One of the girls was light-skinned and was wearing an all-white outfit with a green bandana over or around her neck. She had on a gold belt that had a green jewel in the middle. There were 3 women standing behind her as well. One of them was wearing a black mask over her face. One of them was dark-skinned with a bandana over her head that was green. And another had short dreadlocks. The others had on different variations of green. All of them had different variations of green clothing on. Tiana spoke silently over to her friends and said, yo, it's the JJG. We better get out of here. Khaleesha then said, the JJG? What's that? Yanni responded and said, the Jamaican Jewel Gang. Khaleesha, who is still very confused at this point, says, who? And Yanni responded, the Jamaican Jewel Gang, and that's their leader, Queen Jewel. Queen Jewel finally stepped up after the girls had their dialogue, and she diverted her attention to Khaleesha, saying, I want to talk to the new chick on the block. The presidents decided to talk to Khaleesha as all this was going on, telepathically this time, since she was around her friends. He said to her, what are you going to do, Khaleesha? Your friends can't see your powers yet, so you've got to find a way to conceal them and handle this situation. Khaleesha then said, I think I can handle them. Tiana then said, are you talking to yourself, Khaleesha? Khaleesha realized at that moment that she was actually talking to the presence and out loud, and her friends couldn't tell who she was speaking to. Khaleesha then said, yeah, I was just having a pep talk with myself, girl. All of a sudden, Queen Jewel looked at her 3 minions, and they all pulled out knives at the same time. Khaleesha looked over at her new group of friends and stood in front of them as the women did this. Khaleesha then said, I don't know who you think you're threatening around here with a knife, but it ain't me, girl. And then Queen Jewel responded after laughing at Khaleesha's retort. This bitch got some balls. I'ma enjoy watching my girl shank you one time. Kyra all of a sudden yelled as she saw that one of Queen Jewel's minions was going to make a move and said, Khaleesha, look out. All of a sudden, the masked member of the gang, who was the biggest of them, tried to attack Khaleesha with a knife. She swung at Khaleesha, but Khaleesha backed up as the woman missed. She tried to stab Khaleesha again, but Khaleesha did a cartwheel to the side, then roundhouse kicked the masked woman in the face, knocking her to the ground temporarily. Kyra gasped as she watched what was happening, and Tiana and Yanni just stood shocked in amazement. The woman with short locks ran up next and swung her knife at Khaleesha's face and missed when Khaleesha ducked. Khaleesha punched her in the stomach multiple times and then kicked her in the face, knocking her to the ground as well. The final minion, with a bandana on her head, ran toward Khaleesha with her knife to swipe her, and Tiana happened to be behind her. Khaleesha moved out of the way, and Tiana was accidentally cut across her arm. Khaleesha noticed and got thrown off guard. She went to go try to tend to Tiana, but that same last minion punched Khaleesha in the back of her head, knocking her to the ground instead. As this was going on, Khaleesha gathered herself and got up, and Yanni ran to Tiana's aid in the meantime. The woman tried to swing on Khaleesha once more after she got up, but Khaleesha blocked it, and in retaliation, she roundhouse kicked the woman to the ground. Khaleesha's nose was bleeding a little bit though, but she was more concerned about Tiana at this point. Afterwards, Khaleesha went back to tending to the arm of Tiana, which was bleeding as well. And Queen Jewel finally spoke up. "Ladies, get up and stop fighting, you heard me?" Queen Jewel's minions all got up at the same time and walked over to where she was. She then held out a green-colored jewel that was in her hand and stared at Khaleesha and her friends. Queen Jewel then said, "This ain't over. Jewel of viridescence. Transport." All of a sudden, a green glow appeared around Queen Jewel and her friends. Within just a few seconds, the four ladies disappeared in a green flash of light. Kyra stood there, stunned, while Khaleesha and Yanni were tending to Tiana. Kyra then said, "What the fuck did I just witness?" And Khaleesha, where did you learn to fight like that? Khaleesha then said, "Never mind that, Kyra. Yanni, we need to get Tiana to a hospital immediately." Yanni then responded and said, "I'll call 911 right now." Tiana seemed to be on the ground, feeling weak after losing so much blood from her arm from being cut. Yanni quickly stepped away and called for an ambulance on her cell phone as Khaleesha continued to tend to her. Later in the day, the group were in the hospital and they were by Tiana's bedside. She lost so much blood at this point that she was still a bit weak. Tiana opened her eyes though, and there she saw all of them sitting there, tending to her and waiting for her to wake up. Tiana then said, "Yo, what the hell happened? Last thing I remember is getting cut by one of them gang goons." Yanni then said, "You had to get stitches, Ty. We tried to get here as fast as we could." Kyra then said, "Yeah, we'd still be in it bad, but Khaleesha saved us. Khaleesha was out here beating down thugs like a superhero or something. It was amazing." Yanni then responded to Kyra and said, "You've been talking about Khaleesha fighting all day, Kyra. Write a book about it or something, but right now we need to be concerned about Ty." And defeatedly, Kyra then said, "Okay." All of a sudden, Yanni's phone went off and she tried to answer it. Yanni then said while she was on the phone, "Hello? Hello? Yeah, I can barely hear you. My signal is bad here, so I'll have to step out and talk to you there." Yanni excused herself and stepped out of the room, and Khaleesha watched her as she did. Khaleesha then said to Tiana, directing her attention to her, "Hey, Ty, I know you ain't all the way 100 yet, but what can you tell me about this JJG and Queen Jewel?" Tiana responded and said, "To be honest, I don't know much about them other than that they rule Jamaican Queens like it's nobody's business. Yanni is the one who told me about them." Khaleesha then said, "Yanni? She doesn't seem like the type to be into street culture like that too much. She gives me bougie vibes, actually." Tiana responded and said, "She is bougie, but she's smart. And she's ambitious. And she's really aware of her surroundings, if I'm being very honest. She navigated her whole way through the modeling world like it's no one's business. Speaking of business, I bet you one day she is going to have her own modeling studio. I can just tell. I can just feel it." All of a sudden, the presence tried to speak to Khaleesha telepathically once more. The presence then said, "Khaleesha, it may be best you step out in private, like your new friend did. I have something important to discuss with you, and you should be alone to hear this." Khaleesha informed her friends that she was going to step out of the hospital room in the hospital just for a second to have a conversation with the presence. The presence, while they were outside, said to Khaleesha, Khaleesha, I have some concerns about this Jamaican Jewel Gang. Have you noticed that they personally wanted to speak with you before they fought you? Khaleesha then said, how could I not, presence? They singled me out and they attacked me. The presence then said, exactly. I wonder how they found out about your whereabouts and why. It's quite odd for a well-known gang in Jamaican Queens to personally seek you out in the manner that she did. Khaleesha then said, do you think that she could be hunting my relic? She did seem to have an item of her own with significant power. Significant, strange power at that. Presence then said, I don't know, but I know that someone here in this city certainly is. I can just feel it. My ability to detect hunters of relics is limited to tracking vicinity, but not the individual person. Also, what she was wielding was not a relic. It was a jewel. Khaleesha then said, what can you tell me about this jewel? And the presence responded, it's called the Jewel of Viridescence. Unlike the relics, jewels don't hold spirits, and the power is the same no matter who possesses them, as long as they can activate them. Relics choose their masters and tailor abilities based on who wields them. Khaleesha then responded and said, I wonder how she got it. All of a sudden, Yanni came outside and spoke to her. Yanni then said, hey girl, you came out to get some fresh air? Khaleesha then said, yeah, I guess you could say that. I've never been a fan of the hospital anyway, to be honest. Yanni then said, listen girl, if you want to come by the agency tomorrow, if you are not doing anything, you are more than welcome to. I didn't get to tell you that earlier today, but I thought I'd bring it back up. Khaleesha then said, yeah, I can do that. What time should I be there? And Yanni said, why don't you come through around lunchtime? I can show you around and then we could maybe go get some lunch afterwards and chat. And Khaleesha then said, sounds good to me. Oh, and hey, Yanni, I spoke to Tiana in there. She told me you knew about the JJG the most out of y'all's group. What do you think they were trying to do today? Yanni then said, I couldn't tell you, but I'm willing to bet it wasn't good. I don't know what the jewel she was holding was about either. Really, I don't really know very much of anything, Khaleesha. That gang has been known to be bad news around here. Them and those killer kings. Khaleesha sounded pretty confused once again and said, the killer kings? And Yanni responded back to her, yes, New York City is full of dangerous gangs who follow their own code and do whatever they please. Hopefully someone will put an end to whatever it is that they are up to. And then Khaleesha responded to her, yeah, and I'm sure that jewel of hers didn't just appear out of thin air. And Yanni then said, yeah, but she was interrupted before she could make more of a statement, and this was because she got a phone call. Yanni then says, sorry, Khaleesha, I have to take this. I'll see you tomorrow, though? And Khaleesha said, of course. See you tomorrow. Yanni walked away and got on her phone to answer her call, and the presence began speaking once Yanni was out of the vicinity. The presence then said, Khaleesha, this is a great opportunity for us to see if we can find the next heirloom. And Khaleesha said, yeah, I do want to see the agency and the industry, though. And the president said, I'm not against that, Khaleesha, but we need to be focused on the mission to retrieve the heirlooms. And Khaleesha then responded to him and said, why can't we kill two birds with one stone at the very least? Come on, stop tripping. And the president said, tripping? You have to be focused, Khaleesha. And Khaleesha then said, I am focused, Presence, but I refuse to let this opportunity pass me by. The Presence then said, in a way to himself, I have a feeling this is going to be extended past the predicted destinated time that I thought that this would take. All of a sudden, a police officer who was a black man showed up. He was middle-aged, somewhere in his late 40s, with graying hair and a graying mustache. He was wearing a police uniform and seemed to be working for the NYPD. Good afternoon, ma'am. My name is Officer John Black of the NYPD. I was hoping you had a moment to answer some questions for me. And then Khaleesha responded and said, about... And the officer responded to her and said, about the attack on Miss Price that happened earlier outside of the Link Cafe and Bakery of Jamaican Queens. I was informed that you were a witness to the crime by one of your friends who said you would be downstairs while she was up there visiting with her. Khaleesha then said, yeah, I was there. What do you want to know? And the officer then said to her, first of all, what is your name? And Khaleesha said, it's Khaleesha. Officer Black then said to her, okay, Khaleesha, tell me about what happened. And then Khaleesha began to tell him the story. Me and my new friends were attacked outside of a coffee shop, which you already know. It was by a gang called the Jamaican Jewel Gang, which was told to me. I stopped them from attacking me and my friends in the process, and one of the gang members cut Tiana with a knife, but she was aiming for me. You ever heard of them? Officer Black then responded and said, I'm very familiar with the gang, especially a woman who goes by the name Queen Jewel. We are still on the hunt to catch her. But if I know Queen Jewel, she always has a motive in her moves. Like stealing the jewel she possesses, which belongs to one of our great museums in the city of New York. That brings me to my next question, which is, why do you think that she attacked you? Khaleesha then responded and said, I don't know. How would I know that? And then the officer then said, you said she attacked you and Tiana was injured in place of you. So what's your involvement with her? Khaleesha then said, involvement? This isn't about me. My friend was attacked today by a gang. And you're wondering about my involvement? You know what? Man, this questioning is over. Officer Black then said, you can't go. We have more to discuss. And then Khaleesha looked at him and said, watch me, and then started walking away. After the conversation, Officer Black watched as Khaleesha just walked away from him during the questioning. He stood there, he stared at her as she left out, and he shook his head. Later that night, Khaleesha was about to walk to her apartment and go in the door. She all of a sudden received a call on her cell phone. She picked up, seeing that it was Kyra, and she answered and spoke to her. And she said, hey, girl. Wait, what? No, went missing. Okay, I'm gonna head to the hospital right now. I know, but she was supposed to be kept overnight. Something must have happened. Okay, listen, Kyra, I gotta go. Thanks, bye. Khaleesha hung up the phone, and the presence began to speak as she was on the move. The presence then said, Khaleesha, this doesn't resonate well. I sense something unscrupulous is commencing. Khaleesha then responded and said to him, maybe, but I have to figure out what happened to Tiana. Khaleesha made it outside and traveled via subway over to the hospital that Tiana was staying at. When she was just down the street from the hospital, it was pitch black and it was nighttime. She wondered what could have happened to Tiana, what could have gone on. Did she leave herself or did somebody take her? She wasn't really sure about all this, but she was certainly going to find out. All of a sudden, as she was walking down the street, a gleam of green light appeared behind her and blasted her, knocking her to the ground and unconscious. As this happened, all of a sudden, walking up and standing over her was Queen Jewel and her minions from earlier. Queen Jewel was holding the green jewel in her hand that she had earlier that day, and looked over her before speaking once again and said, "I told you, girl, this wouldn't be our last meeting." To be continued. Alright, y'all, that was Allspice Season 1, Episode 3. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There's going to be a lot more to come from the C3 comics sector, but this is just the latest installment. Anyway, I have a lot more episodes to come in my repertoire, and I have a lot of really cool things planned. Again, as you all know, if you've been tuning into a lot of my episodes, we do a mixture here. We do some fun stuff, but we also get into some serious stuff too. And this is the fun stuff, so I really hope that you all enjoy it and you all get to kind of get something a little bit different from the comics, you know, get something a little more audio related instead of your, you know, TV shows, and instead of like the comics that you may read and whatnot. But anyway, y'all, once again, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I will be talking to y'all soon. Peace.